everyone, and welcome to this very, very special in-between season episode of the World of Work podcast. In between because it doesn't technically belong to season 1. It's not yet kicking off season 2. It's kind of like bridging in between the two, and it is still relevant to the topic of the world of work. Relevant for two reasons. First one, probably the main reason, is that there are some unspoken voices that have been accompanying season 1 of the world of work, and these are the voices that you're hearing right now in the background music. So these are the musical voices. And number 2, it's related because it's still about a world of work, but I want to talk a little bit more about the world of work in music, the world of work in the performing arts, and to some extent to the arts in general. Now, it's a very broad topic. We can take it from so many different perspectives. But I want to focus on, first of all, the team, that worked with me on the musical project. And as I said, a little bit as well on the profession of what it means to be a musician, an artist, and especially how complicated that is nowadays. This pandemic has really been hitting everyone pretty hard. And I would dare say the entertainment business, the live events, the musicians, and the whole entourage around that, the whole world of professionals that are working within this field, but really, really challenged at the moment, as you can imagine. So actually, before talking about the team, I want to talk a little bit about the profession and kind of reflect on that. Because first of all, it is a profession. Although people may not see it or value it as a profession. If you've got friends that say, I'm an artist and a musician, you're like, oh, wow, cool. And what's your real job? How are you paying the bills? Because music, that you cannot live off of that, can you? And that's kind of worrying, right? When we ask these kind of questions and when we think in this way, because it tells you already a lot, not only how we perceive the world of the arts and the world of music, but also the economics behind it, right? There's a genuine concern in terms of saying, well, wait a second, how can you survive by just doing music? And I do think there's something absolutely off with that logic, because it's as if you're asking somebody, how can you survive by doing something that is so beautiful and that is your passion? How can you survive by bringing people together around emotions? How can you survive by creating emotions with people and making them resonate with you? Can you imagine what that actually means? Can you imagine the contrary? Can you imagine, for a second, imagine the world without music? Imagine a world without theater. We're already seeing that right now, right? Imagine a world without the arts. Imagine a world without dance, without photography, without designers, without the creative spirit. What kind of a world would that be? And yet, there is that risk. There is that risk because the industry as such, and it's not only due to the pandemic, it kind of started already several years ago, with the advent of the internet and technology and the digital music. It's opened up an incredible area, right? We have access to music like we'd never, ever had before. But at the same time, this access to music has also kind of diminished the value of it because there's so much of it. You're surrounded by music from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, and sometimes you don't even realize it. It's like it's all around you. And sometimes you have your playlist. Now you've got playlists for everything. You've got playlists, the 80s, the 90s playlist. You've got the soul, the funky, the blues, the jazz. You have your yoga playlist. You have your jogging playlist. You've got your meditation playlist, your studying playlist. There's a playlist for everything. And it's, at the click of a finger, which is pretty unbelievable. So don't get me wrong. But the 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 downside of that is that it has really taken away the value, assuming that it ever did have value, by the way, but it is eroding on the economics dramatically. So if we look for a second as well on the business side, and I don't necessarily want to dwell too much into that, but overall the revenue of the music industry is about $30 billion, and it's growing. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a time when CD sales were going down, etc., that people thought that's the end of the music industry. Not at all. It's a growing, thriving industry still today. And the entertainment industry is about $770 billion. But what's changed is that people are using this art, the music, etc., the movies, through streaming. So the model has changed dramatically. You're no longer going to the movies necessarily, or you're no longer buying physical music, whether it's vinyl is going a little bit up, but it's still like 3% of the market. But you're no longer buying CDs. You're no longer buying any physical, tangible music product. You're streaming it. And even downloads, people are no longer downloading anymore. So the majority of those $30 billion US dollars, it's actually coming from streaming. And the three main platforms of that, that's Spotify, it's got 1/3 of the market share, Apple 18%, and Amazon Music about 11 or so percent. Now here's the math. For every song that you stream, the artist gets 0.0044 cents. That's Spotify. I think Apple is about, for every stream, is like 0.0060 cents. And Amazon is similar to Spotify. And you're paying, as a subscriber, you're paying about $10 a month to have access to 50 million songs. So that's about like $120 a year to have access to 50 million songs. Now, 50 million songs, that's a truckload of songs. I mean, I don't know about you. I would never, I don't think you have a lifetime available to listen to 50 million songs, but it's true. You have them available, any kind of type of song, whenever you want. And you can choose and pick and kind of skip until you find the song that you like, and after 2 minutes you continue to skip because you're like, I'm already bored of this one. But that's an amazing library of songs. In my time, $120, maybe I was paying what? I could be buying 7 CDs max if I had a good discount. Every CD has what, like about 20 songs? Okay, with good discounts, I could buy like 10 CDs. And 10 CDs is what, about 200 songs of my choice that I could hear. I'm not talking radio, I'm talking about CDs. It was okay. It was okay. It was okay. But now with that same amount of money, you've got access to 50 million. And the artist gets, for every stream, 0.00, let's do an average, 5 cents. 0.05 cents. So that means you need 1 million streams as an artist for that one song, 1 million streams to get about $5,000. $5,000 to produce a song. You start at minimum, really, with $1,500 at minimum. Very good studios goes way up, but on average, let's say something decent could be between $3,000, $5,000. As I said, it depends where you go. So to recoup just the production cost of a song, not to mention the promotion cost of a song, it's going to take you lots of downloads, lots of streams of your song. Because, by the way, if you don't promote your song, there's no way that your song is going to be heard amongst an ocean of 50 million songs. There's just no way. I mean, you may have a couple of streams from your friends. You may beg your colleagues, your family members, your grandparents, your kids, your neighborhood to stream a little bit. But I don't know if 1 million people, but hey, that's a pretty tough ask, isn't it? Just to recoup. So of course, people, it's really very difficult to live off of that passion, to live off of the art for which you dedicate your time, your energy, and your heart, quite frankly, to it. Of course, there's not only that in terms of revenue stream, you also have synchronization rights or licensing. If you're lucky to have your music played in movies or in TV series. Gaming is a big thing now too. And then the other big revenue stream is, of course, live performances. But as we were saying before, there are no live performances, And so it's not only, that's the world of the artist or the songwriter, which is, the economics are already pretty complicated. But then, as I was saying before, there's this whole entourage around it. The guys backstage that are making it happen, all the technicians, the sound engineers, the producers, the audio visuals. I mean, it is just a universe. And this universe is looking kind of dire at the moment and pretty dramatic. And so, yeah, it does beg the question, going to that famous friend of yours who's perhaps a musician and who may be struggling at the moment, how and why would anybody want to continue in this field? And that's the paradox, right? An artist will always create. Always. Always. It's just part of the essence of being an artist. Of never being satisfied and always looking for something and always looking to express something and always looking to resonate that something with somebody else. And so it's I'm not advocating for them to continue, because artists will always continue to do art, even if they may not be recognized for it or valued for it. But I do want to talk about it because I think it's important that the next time you stream a song, next time you listen to your iTunes, or to, even if you've paid that subscription, but just consider 0.0044 cents. We averaged it. Sorry, 0.0050 cents every stream. So choose your artist carefully. You're going to make him or her very happy when you do. And listen a lot of the songs of the same artist as opposed to hip hopping. But seriously though, I do think the economics of it are really very complicated at the moment. And I respect the profession. I respect the people working in this field. First of all, because they have a lot of courage to follow their passion, regardless of what society says. And regardless of the financials, they're still going to do it. And you know what? I've met artists that are much more fulfilled in what they do, even though they may not be making money out of it, than business people or than people in companies who are financially okay, secure. They get their money at the end of the month, but who are quite unfulfilled. So I find that very interesting to consider. Now, that said, before talking about the team, because I promised I was going to talk about the team, in reality, this topic about art and the value that we give to art is not a new topic. There's an essay that I'm particularly fond of, and which is Virginia Woolf's A Room of One's Own, published in 1929, and it stemmed from a conference, a lecture actually she gave in 1928 to a group of female college students at the time. And the topic was about women and writing. So it wasn't necessarily about music, but it was about the art of writing to some extent. And yes, of course, she talks about the reasons, why is it that there were so few women writers? And lo and behold, the reason is probably, A, it was not expected from them, let alone were they expected to think. You can imagine if they were expected to write. And secondly, they didn't have access to education. And even if they did, Virginia Woolf is saying, that's not enough. You got to have money and a room of your own to be able to write undisturbed. And she also talks about this topic of writing and how difficult a task it is and how daunting a task it is, regardless of your gender. The chances that the work of genius will ever make it out there are really very few. And therefore she talks a little bit about that. And I do want to quote what she says because I think it resonates with what I was talking about before. I quote, "Accentuating all these difficulties and making them harder to bear is the world's notorious indifference. It does not ask people to write poems and novels and histories. It does not need them. It does not care whether Flaubert finds the right word or whether Carlyle scrupulously verifies this or that fact. Naturally, it will not pay for what it does not want." I end the quote. Naturally, it will not pay for what it does not want. Because the world does not want poems. The world does not want stories. The world does not want art, I add. The world does not need it, does not need music. So it's not going to pay for it. If it's there, for free. But by the way, this freebie economy it's a non-economy. It's a fake economy. An economy is an exchange of products and services against a supply of money. And I can choose as an artist or as a musician to give my music for free. But if I'm forced by an economy to lower the costs and lower my standards to be able to compete in a market, that's no economy. That's not an economy. And by the way, I sense the training and development is going in a similar direction, right? It's kind of like, everything is so easily accessible nowadays that the value of the work that's being put behind creative development, that's what I'm talking about. Where is that value? Yes, I just read from Virginia Woolf, and I understand it. I get it. That was 100 years ago. The world does not ask people to write poems, novels, and histories. It does not need them. It won't pay for them. But she said it way back then with a critical spirit. She was not accepting it. I don't accept it either, and neither should you. And neither should you. Because quite frankly, we're much more than just the biology. We're much more than just, the mechanics. We're just more than making sure that we've got food, shelter, and health. I mean, yeah, that's important because, we wouldn't be here without that. But if we're only that, if it's only about the neurons in the right place and the right parameters and the bloodstreams and, being healthy and fantastic and having great muscles, but we miss everything else, it's a bit like a body, a walking body. I don't think that's what the human's about. I don't even think that's what life is about. And the arts helps us understand that. The arts gives us a language to express that. And the arts gives us a way of connecting with one another. But I think this pandemic has also showed us how important the arts actually are. because without them, we kind of sense that we're missing something. So food for thought. And I do think it's food for the soul. Now back to the team. So I met Phil Airden, about 12 months ago when I was looking for a recording studio to do my third album. We did a demo song to see if we could work together, and it's not that obvious, by the way. I mean, in general, finding the right team is, not the easiest thing in the world, and then in music in particular. And when you're doing your songs, there's a very personal aspect to it. So it worked well. We decided to kick off the project. I submitted about 10-15 songs. Out of those, we chose 6, which ultimately became 5. Started pre-production February 2020. And then something called the COVID came along the way, so we kind of had to postpone the project and the production of it. And in the meantime, I was thinking as well of a podcast. I was thinking of, I want to put my voice out there on a topic that I'm pretty familiar with. But I knew I wanted a song as well. I wanted a jingle. I mean, everybody's got a jingle in a podcast. So I started playing around with some GarageBand sounds, loops, started to create a couple of, 10 seconds kind of jingle stuff. But in the meantime, we were able to record with the band in May. And by June, I had the musical tracks of the songs kind of ready. They were not fully mixed, but they were kind of ready. They were missing the vocals, the lead vocals, the backup vocals, but ready enough, as ready as they could be to even for a podcast. And I thought, I think I'm going to use one of the songs as the quote unquote jingle of the podcast. And that's how it came to be. The jingle, let's say it this way, of the jingle of the podcast is it's actually a song called 100 Million Candles. And together with Phil, there was a whole team of people as well. And here's the team that I want to introduce you to. Roger Hinterman, the guy on the drums, the guy giving us the rhythm, the discipline, keeping us on point, persevering like there's no tomorrow. If the first take was not right, we go for the second take, we go for the third, we do it until it's right. And Roger, what I appreciated about you is absolutely you keeping us to the rhythm, on point, all the time. But also, you were able to find the right compromise between, your talent and the essence of the song, right? And I think for a drummer in particular, I found that quite extraordinary. Not only your listening, which is to be expected from any musician, but also this wanting to understand the essence of the song. And I thought that was extraordinary, what you did for the team and what you did for the song. So thank you for that. Now, we also know that a drummer without a bassist is kind of like a strange rhythmic section. It's a bit like the sun without the moon, or, I can probably find a better metaphor, but it'll suffice for now. So on bass, we have Stefan von Willer. Stefan, you not only kept us to the rhythm, but you gave the songs the groove. You made us move to the songs. And without that, the songs have no energy. And you were able to bring that energy to the songs and to the team. So fantastic work. And also, in your case, being able to find that right balance between what you can provide, your talents, your creativity, but also respecting what the song is supposed to represent. So kudos Stefan for that groove. And then of course there's Matthias Horvath. I'm sure I'm pronouncing his last name wrong, but you will forgive me. I call him Matt, actually. Matt, the man on the guitar, the man that you keep hearing actually throughout the podcast. He's the man with the licks. with guitar licks, which were pretty extraordinary. And also, Matt, what I found really amazing was the sound you created around the guitar. That was also together with Philip, of course. But nowadays a guitar can sound like anything, like literally. You can make it sound like a violin if you want to. And you found that right sound that would have been just perfect, and it was just perfect for the song and for the others too. So thank you, Matthias. And then of course, that's just the musical part. But a song has lead vocals and also backup vocals sometimes. And I talk about Diana Vidovic and Noel Bobst. Now, Diana, much more than a backup vocalist. First of all, fantastic lead singer, also songwriter and dancer, by the way. And for me, more importantly, she was my vocal coach. Because there came a point during the production process towards June where Phil said to me, are you sure you don't want to kind of practice on that voice before doing the final lead vocals? And I'm like, what are you trying to tell me? He's like, just saying. We risk spending a lot of hours on the studio if you don't get that voice kind of back on track. And I'm like, whoa, I think you're right. The voice is a muscle after all, and it does require practice, and it does require technique. So Diana has been my vocal coach.
Hi. I'm Diana.
My vocal coach.
She's doing great.
Thanks to her, great teacher. And Diana, I thank you for really taking my voice to a level that I didn't even think was possible. By showing me different ways of using this instrument. And you were just fantastic along that process. And you took me along that journey of self-discovery and of experimenting different ways of singing. So thank you absolutely for that. And also for the extraordinary backup vocals you did, in particular for this song, what I'm talking about, but also for the other songs. And of course, Noel Bobst. What can I say about Noel Bobst? Except when I met her in the studio, she was like, tell me what you want me to do. Tell me what you want me to sing. I will sing it. Extremely focused, by the way. Extremely tell me what, I'm a machine. I can do anything. And I'm like, okay, what's your preferred range? High notes, mid notes, low notes. She can do any notes. And that is unbelievable. Extremely versatile. And also she has this ability of getting the tonality the way you want it to be. And the way that once again serves the song. And I do want to say, by the way, that backup vocalists are amazing lead singers usually. You would ask me, and by the way, I'm not a professional lead singer, but even, if you were to ask me to do backup vocals, I'm like, nah, not really. I know talented people who can do it much better than I can. So Noel, thank you for the amazing sense of focus and in discipline in getting those notes right, and actually never being happy with the result, which tends to be a little bit the problem many artists have, kind of like never happy. So that's a team. It's, with Philip, Stefan, Roger, Matthias, Diana, Noel, all together. It was a team effort. And I am convinced, actually, that, what brought us together, it's not only the project, it's not only, we're here for a goal to produce songs. And it's more than just putting your talent and your skills there. It is this common sense of work ethics. And if you were to ask me, for me, what makes a difference in a team that's really giving its utmost, in a team that's kind of just performing, it's this. It's the glue. It's this ethics, this commonality of saying, you know what? When you're in the studio, you give it everything you have. No excuses, no headaches, no sore throats. None of that. If it doesn't work once, you will do it again. You will do it again. You will do it again. Because good enough is not good enough. Not in this world. Not in the world of the arts. And when you persevere, you're not looking actually for perfection. Even though some people are, but you're just looking to reach that moment. And it does happen. To reach that special moment when you say, this is it. Now the song has come to life. Now the song has a life of its own. It's as simple as that. And we had lots of fun, by the way, during the process of working together. Somebody's losing it. Are you still alive?
So funny. Garbage.
A little bit. You can do better.
Oh.
So, oh my God. Loud?
Oh my goodness.
I'm in a cave. So, ladies and gentlemen, with no further ado, I'm happy to share with you a couple of sound bites of the song of the World of Work of the WoW, which is not called the World of Work. It's not called the WoW song. Maybe a WoW song, but it's not called the WoW song. It's called 100 Million Candles. Enjoy it. Until the next time, as always, take good care.
Aha, you're filming.
Meet Phil. He likes the WoW too. And this is the song of the podcast. Slightly changed because there was less guitar and there was just some vocals.
No guitars, no more, but
no more.
singing in the beginning.
I'll just show you until the first chorus.
There was a father who saw his dreams for something better, so his son could see. All he ever wanted and all he ever needed to live was to give something to remember, a flame not to surrender that lives.
Now you might recognize this part, which is the dip. Let me sing.
100 million candles comes a day. 100 million voices fade away. 100 million people walking. 100 million people
That's what the song's gonna sound like. And I think we are good with this song.
I think so.
Anyway, because it's to the WoW.
See you.
A fantastic job. More than fantastic. You are. Well, say it again. You are fantastic.